Ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Snoops, coming back at you with another video. Now in this video, as you guys can tell, we are doing another rare build, but of course, as every rare build is in this game, sometimes only 1 or 2 attribute points, or even a wingspan, or you know, like a pound of weight can make a total difference in between the names of 2 different builds, which is why this build is going to be looking a little bit similar to an inside out playmaker that you guys should be able to recognize from my first top 5 rare builds video. The second video is actually coming out very soon after this one. So stay tuned to the channel if you want to see another 5 rare builds that I definitely enjoy seeing the stats of, because they actually look pretty good. But without further ado, let's actually get into making this build, because this build, as I have mentioned, is actually close to an inside out playmaker, especially the one that I have made. So how we are going to make this exactly, we're going to make it the same way, slashing and shooting. And also, me personally, I like having vertical because we are going to be a slasher and shooter type build here. So this is why this vertical and speed is definitely important, because you get a ton of more vertical, and with this build you can definitely get a 99 vertical and at least a high 90 in your speed and stuff like that. So how we are going to do this exactly, now we can easily just go with close shot, driving layup, and driving dunk maxed out, and we are going for the whopping 45 on the standing dunk, which means that all 4 of those are maxed out. Mid-range and 3-point shot are not going to be maxed out, but free throw is going to be maxed out. Post fade is going to be taken down to an 88. So we're 1 point off of maxing out post fade, and here's where everything gets a little tricky. Now, you guys might be a little confused by this, but we're not going to max out our 3-pointer or our mid-range. But what we are going to do is we're going to take the 3-pointer down to a 76 and our mid-range down to a 78. Now the only reason is just because when we get our height, our weight, and our wingspan all done and over with, of course we are going to have changes in our attribute points, and we have to have specific attributes on, you know, certain stats. Like for an example, that that one build that I made in my rare builds video that is coming out soon, I have a mid-range type build, and you have to have an 81 mid-range, but you can't have an 83 pointer unless you want it to be called like a two-way sharp or some sort of sharpshooter or something like that. However you're making this, whether you are making like a two-way mid-range, you know, type build or whatever, you cannot have an 83 pointer, and you have to have an 81 mid-range. And then of course, for playmaking, we are making an 82, and we are bringing this up to a whopping 79. Now here's the reason why we were bringing this to a 79 and not an 80. If you have an 80 ball handling or higher, then you will be called a slashing playmaker with this build. It doesn't even matter if you have your 81 mid-range that you would need in order to be called a mid-range type build. You're still going to be called a slashing playmaker because you do have the 80 ball handling and you have the slashing ability. But in post moves, we're not worrying about too much. Drop that down to a whopping 46, just because we don't need too much ball handling, or we don't need too much more ball handling, because we don't want it to be called a slash playmaker, and we don't really need that much post moves because we need everything else for our defense. So we're just sticking with the 13 playmaking badges here, because we have 19 shooting, 17 finishing, 13 playmaking. So for defense, we're maxing out pretty much everything for our perimeter as always, and we're going to have a 60 defensive rebound, so that's the rest of our points. So we should have a 17, 19, 13, and 6 outlook. And that's going to be very important. Now you can make this build with whatever body shape that you want, but what's different about this inside out playmaker is that since it's not going to be called an inside out playmaker, I messed around with the stats a little bit, and I decided, hey, why not go for a 6'5" height, because that would be really good. So 6'5", I always like my point guards being 6'5", because, you know, that seems to be like a really good height, and especially it brings our driving dunk up to an 83 instead of an 82. And it'll drop our stats. Of course it'll drop our stats, but that's okay. But we're gonna drop our interior defense, and we're gonna get more vertical and acceleration here. And as you guys can see, we're only gonna be getting with this build, because we are being 6'5" instead of like 6'3". If you went 6'3", you could easily get away with like a 90 plus speed, but in this case we're not going to be able to get 90 plus speed at all, so just think about that. But of course, when we are maxed out, when you have gym rat and all that stuff, you are going to have a 99 vertical, so just think about that, because that's going to be very, very nice to have. And then of course wingspan, bringing that down all the way. As you guys can see, we have the 79 3-pointer, so it's not an 80, so we are going to be able to not be called like a shooter or any other type or an offensive threat. Mid-range is an 81, our 3-pointer is 980, so which means we are going to be able to be called a mid-range type build. We do not have an 80 ball handling, but it's a 79, so we are still going to be able to get away with the mid-range build because we do not have an 80 ball handling. And 49 post moves, of course, 72 steal, 29 block. We're not really worrying about the block. But of course, with this, you can do whatever. Spot up shooter is all the way down here. If you want to be a spot up shooter, shot creator, playmaker, I really choose slasher, because slasher takeover is the best. And it's always going to be the best this year. But of course, as you guys can see, we have a mid-range Maestro, and I am completely excited that I have fiddled with this inside-out playmaker, because I'm like, okay, I want to fiddle around with the inside-out playmaker. I want to see if I can make a build that is like some sort of like a mid-range type build and everything like that. Try and find a rare build, and this is a rare build. Mid-range Maestro. I see a ton of, well, I don't really see a ton of, but I've seen quite a few different videos and stuff like that have mid-range Maestros as bigs. I have made a mid-range Maestro before in the power forward position when I was trying to make a like a shooting playmaking type big and stuff like that, but of course that build wasn't like exactly the best, and I never made a video on that. But this one right here, this point guard mid-range Maestro, definitely sounds really, really nice, because you know, you have the playmaking ability, so you are a Maestro. Of course, you're able to get other people open with your 80 plus ball handling, your 79 ball handling, your 81 plus pass accuracy. You're able to get passes off and everything. You're able to slash, you're able to shoot still because you have a 79 3-pointer. And of course, at a 99, you're gonna have, of course, an 83. So you're gonna have an 83 3-pointer. You're gonna have an 85 mid-range. So that's really, really good. You know, you're gonna have your 87 driving dunks, so you can get those elite contact dunks easily at 97 overall. But yeah, this build is really, really good. Let's go ahead, let's look at some badges and stuff like that real quick. Just want to show you guys some badges that you can use for this build, especially if you want to like make it to where he's a finisher, but he can also be like a shot creator in the mid-range. Of course, we're going with this. Don't really have to do that Hall of Fame. Boom. And of course, you can get that going as well if you want to. But this is something that you can easily run with and change up a bit, just in case. But definitely have that Hall of Fame contact finisher. That's going to be your most important. Then of course, Slithery finisher, Giant Slayer, definitely going to be good. Pro touch and consistent finisher if you want. Or if you don't want pro touch or consistent finisher, then you can easily run Acrobat. That is something that you can also think about. Or you can also take off Lob City, and you can put on Fancy Footwork, which honestly is what I might do. I might put down Hall of Fame as well if I can get it. There you go. I might put down Hall of Fame. Just depends. You can always mess around with it, of course, when you max out all your badges and stuff. So it's just completely up to you guys, whatever you want to run. Shooting. I know exactly how to set this up. This is exactly how I would set it up. This right here. This is perfect, because if you guys know my two-way shooting builds, like my 3-and-D guard and like some other like 3-and-D type builds and stuff like that, in the point guard position or the shooting guard position, they'll always have at least 18 shooting badges and stuff like that. So you can only get like the 3 Hall of Fame and 2 golds. So like this is what I would be running on my 3&D guard. But since now I have 19, I'm able to get that 1 extra badge to get the Hall of Fame green machine on this build, which is kind of nice. But you know, it still gives me pretty much about the same, so I know exactly what to run, how to run it, and stuff like that. But that's just me. If you don't want to run this specifically, then you can take off range extender, and then you can put on difficult shots as well. That's, you know, okay. But it just depends on how you want to run it, because me personally, I would just be like a range shooter, pretty much like a 3 shooter. You can put on this green machine is definitely really toxic, because I literally shot every single shot flawless 6 for 6 green on park with only bronze green machine. So you can also run this if you wanted to, like that. But mix and match your badges however you feel is necessary, because I know a lot of people use Hall of Fame quick draw. Me personally though, I am 6'5", therefore I'm not going to be using that because I like my gold quick draw, and it's mainly because I'm comfortable with gold, and especially with my D-Wade shot, really toxic and stuff like that. But this is the badges I would run as a ranged shooter. You guys don't have to be ranged shooter at all, but this is what I would run. Still really good, because I don't really like fading. Ever since they faded, or they nerfed the fading shots, and then I started fading and stuff like that with my shot creator, and then it never worked and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, there's no point. Playmaking. Now there's a ton of playmaking that you can go for here. Quick first step is just gonna be one of them. Get that needle threader going, bail out, dimer, unpluckable. And the only reason why I say like dimer and unpluckable and bailout as well instead of just like handles for days is because I'm not really planning on playing this build as sort of like me just like dribbling and stuff like that, and like dribbling out and everything. So I'm not really gonna be sitting here as like a playmaker that's just gonna sit here and just hold the ball the entire time and just dribble all over the place. I'm also gonna try and get people open, and also that's sort of where the bailout comes into play, because it's just like the bailout needle threader dimer combo could be really toxic, especially if I have my if I'm close to getting my takeover, or if like people recognize that I'm gonna be driving, they're gonna collapse in. I can go up for a layup, but then also pass out of it because of gold bailout and my high pass accuracy. So that's gonna be really good. And then they're able to get the shot off because of my dimer. Really nice. That'll be really good. I definitely want to run this build because of this that I want to run. You guys don't have to run this. You can run whatever. You can play this sort of how you want to. You can run ankle breaker if you want. It's totally up to you guys, but this is how I would run it. Just giving some ideas for people. And then of course clamps and intimidator gonna be the 2 badges that you would need for defense. But thank you guys so much for stopping by this video and watching how to make a mid-range maestro in the point guard position, because this is similar of course to the inside out playmaker, because it's sort of the same stats and everything, except that I'm 6'5", and also I just messed around with the playmaking stats a little bit. So playmaking and shooting stats are pretty much the only things that I have really messed around with to make this, but it's really good. You still get your Hall of Fame shooting, Hall of Fame finishing. Really nice. I definitely like it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoy this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and also hit that notification bell icon so you can be notified whenever I upload. Never miss another upload of mine. So anyway guys, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Later everybody.
Bitch, start tripping, now I'm blue. Mega man, I can't win for losing cause I got too many haters, man. Used to be the paper boy, grew up now I'm mega man. Player 1, player 2, show your ass what players do. Up, down, left, right, hit her with a stronger time. Yeah, I smoke the strongest pack. Tell me what it